Hey everybody, welcome to another episode in the series Meet the Leaders here at loanDepot. We've got our very own Jeff Rose with us today. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Hey, so why don't you share with everybody, where you are and what you're doing with us?
Yeah, so I'm Jeff Rose. I've been in the business about 20 years. I manage our Tustin branch for loanDepot.
Yes, you do. And it's a big branch for us too. I mean, I think we'll do probably over $1 billion this year with some of the team that's in place and what we've added.
Yeah, we're on track to do well over $1 billion this year. Maybe we'll land somewhere 1.3. We're still not to purchase season yet. That can change a lot.
That's so awesome. And what's cool about our Tustin branch, I think, is like half of the business is builder business and the other half is like resale and traditional stuff. So it's really like cool mix of like a lot of things that go on in our local market. And we're lucky to have you leading the charge. I know you took over when Brenda got promoted and everybody's happy you're here and you've been making a great impact since you started too.
No, it's been great. I mean, it keeps you on your toes when you're going to be working with builder and you're going to be talking to that many clients. It brings in a lot of resale from everybody that doesn't end up getting in there. So you got to have some good core strategies and execution to be able to make it work, but they do a great job.
Yeah, they do. Hey, so I always like asking this question, but what sets you apart as a leader in the mortgage business and what do you do to stay on top of your game?
So it's a great question. I would say I learn a lot. I listen. I'm engaged. I don't just fly at 10 or 20,000 feet. I sit in the ground. I understand how the job's done. I've been blessed to work with some of the greatest talent over the last 20 years that I've ever experienced. That's a lot of, the taboo topic, right? $100 million producers, but I've had a couple dozen of them and they've had a great impact on my life. I hope to believe I've had a good impact on theirs. I consider them friends. And so that's given me a wealth of knowledge and a lot of different things I can apply to businesses every day to help improve, because $100 million producers don't start in a year, right? There's a track and a method that gets you there. And I'm excited to have somewhat of a blueprint on it from having so much experience working with them.
Yeah, definitely. There's a different level of sophistication, but it all starts with, because you also have some people that are like a year in of originating, and we just recently had one start, and like that could be the future of the next $100 million producer, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's everybody's goal. I haven't met very many. I don't want to say I haven't met, because I have, but a lot of people, they have their aspirations and they want to be there and they want to do it. And, it's just trying to align what are the daily behavior to the goal. And then do their daily behaviors, does that really make them happy? Because that has to be part of the strategy as well. You can't just come up with, you can give them a ton of rules, but if they're not going to enjoy the path and the way to get there, it's not going to work long-term, or they're going to be miserable when they do get there. And, you want it to be a celebration and excitement at the end of the road, as opposed to a challenge accepted.
That totally makes sense. Hey, what do you love about what you get to do every day?
I think I'm in love with, just business strategy in general. And in mortgage, it allows us to apply so many different metrics. Our business can be very, very complicated and we can still overcomplicate it. And what's also great by being able to witness, the dozens or hundreds of loan officers that I've been able to manage over the years and work alongside, is there's not one way to get it done. There's so many different ways to get it done. But what there is there are breadcrumbs and there are patterns, success tactics that are consistent across all of them. So there's still some of the basics that you have to know. You have to still apply these measures to be successful. You're not going to have a great client experience if you don't. You're not going to have good partners. You're not going to have, or at least you will have good partners, but you won't have consistency, and they're not going to be raving about you behind the scenes. They might be just accepting your business because you're what they know. But you want them to be excited to work with you every day and to sell their friends on why they should be working with you as well. And that's all in the details. That's all in just going through and really pulling back the seams and reverse engineering things and really getting to understand, what does their business look like? What improvements can be made? Where can we streamline things? And with some of the experience that I have, and what my last book I was listening to, it was talking about the wisdom, right? And it was like, hey, look, we can have, and in our group, we have a ton of wisdom. Like just you and I together probably have a lot, because we can have a lot of knowledge from the books we read or the tests that we passed or the school that we've been through. But the wisdom's the experience. That's from going through, that's the scars. That's the experience that you get to witness somebody going through some pain, or you went through some pain, and then you get to apply that knowledge and that experience to make sure nobody does that again. But more importantly, so you can just come up with better business strategies and how to improve that long term. So I kind of geek out on that stuff. I listen to probably 4 or 5, and I'm really careful to say listen to. My wife I get in trouble for saying I read a book, because I didn't. I listened to it. But I listened to a lot of books. I gave up the radio a couple years ago, and it's been life changing. It's allowed me to pour into myself, which allows me to pour into others.
That's so awesome. Hey, one thing I really think is interesting too is you owned a mortgage bank for a number of years. And is there anything about that experience you feel has helped you in an environment like ours, or where you have been before here, kind of be more effective as a leader?
Yeah, I think it has. I think it's applied. I've owned a couple mortgage companies and a marketing company, and through each of them, it's given me new challenges and roads, and a lot of it is the tenacity to not give up. You get to be relentless on the process and understanding like, hey, look, there is no alternative. Like, how do I make this be successful? And making sure, you, as Tony Robbins would say, you burn the boats, right? You just you can't look back. This is the only way forward. And what does that look like? And you can be in treacherous seas, but you can't turn the engines off. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going. Like, you got to just keep pushing ahead. And some of the little nuances, small businesses, it matters every single hire that you get. It's not just
That's a
fill
truth.
the boats,
No.
right? So, and in big business, which I went to later, it's how many hires that you have. There's a certain success rate per hire, but you got to just hire, and it's body count. But then everybody starts to become more of a number, whether you want to say it or not, but it's just the truth. And on the smaller scale things, you can't do that. You can't afford it, right? There's a desk cost and there's a hiring cost. And if you get the wrong hire, it can kill your business or hurt you long-term. And so starting small, although there's negatives to it as well, the positives are you really get to understand the foundation details of knowing people, the process, really getting to pull the layers back and understand, are you going to be a great fit? Knowing when to say no, even if it's it's a $200 million producer, they're going to be great. But are they a fit? Like, are they going to make me crazy? Am I going to make them crazy? And so you got to know when to say no. And you learn that a lot better when the costs are higher, and the costs are higher when you're really small. And so I learned a lot of that. There's a lot of other strategy in selling loans and learning how the business is done on the other side of the house. It's been very applicable to when I was working with the big banks. And, I spent 10 years there, and we had a really great, I built 2 large teams. I think we were number 1 in both markets in Orange County and LA over that tenure. And so, there's a lot of good that comes from it though. And a lot of that success came from, owning my businesses up front and knowing the details.
That's so amazing. I know you're a numbers nerd too. I am as well. I love numbers, but isn't it it just feels like right now there's access to so much data for recruiting, for what's going on in our own business. Like it just, I can imagine it helps you as a sales leader also help people plan and put the right plans in place to help them get to the goals they want, and just be a player's coach, but have factual stuff to share with them.
Yeah. I can't get enough numbers, because what improves. So whatever you track is going to grow, because you actually now know how to track it. So then and whether that's spending habits, and that's going to come on that side, or it's going to come, how many calls do I make every day? And then if you can actually learn, okay, how many deals did I get? Okay, well, if you reverse engineered it, how many meetings did you have to go to? How many phone calls did you have to make? How many times did you have to go to broker preview or go out in the field, or right now in this virtual setting, how many phone calls did you have to make, or how many emails had to go out, or text messages, or getting involved, video texts. And then you start finding what usually when I audit people's, and I say audit, sounds like a bad word, but when you would look at somebody's past business, you look over the last year and they're okay, hey, look, let's go back, because loan officers have an odd memory. And anybody listening to this, if they are a loan officer, they'll know what I mean. Because you might say Smith, and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember his exact loan, and I remember what income we used and what couldn't be used. And it was a year and a half ago, and you only did the loan one time. It was only in your system for 26 days. And you remember and I don't know if it's an imprint or what happens, but in loans, it just happens. And so through that process, while you're working through, with loan officers on their business, and you do an audit on the prior year, you're like, okay, wait, where did you meet that customer? So you take the whole fundings for the past year, and you're like, where did you meet this customer, this customer, this customer? Where did you meet this CPA, this CPA, this CPA, or where these referral sources? Where did you meet them? And you'll find that they're not spending the daily hours of their day or their time spent with what got them all their business. They're going on what is common or what might work for everybody else. Some people might get all their business at church, might get it
That's
all
so
at
true.
after school activities. They might get it through online activity and they're horrible at it, or they think they're horrible at it. And they're really great. They have a great capture, a great audience, and they might have a low audience count, but the capture is super high because they're engaging and they're honest and they're authentic and it's always new and interesting. So I think there's so much information now that we're not even tapping into because it's just becoming available. And us at Loan Depot, we have a lot of different numbers that we can share with loan officers. That's, through Mello and others. That's exciting and allows them to be able to refocus and pull back the onion a little bit and see if what they're doing in business can be improved. Because I promise, it's a little too wordy, but whenever I've seen somebody, their usual goal is when they got to 100 million, they're like, oh my gosh, if I could ever get to 100 million, when I'm talking to them at 15, 16, 30, 40 million, if I ever get to 100 million, that's like the pinnacle. And they also think they'll be like burnt out at that stage. But you build systems and processes and design. And if you're in the right culture and you have the right support system around you and everybody believes in you, you get to 100 million, you realize you're still only at 60% capacity. You still got so much left in the tank. And that's where these big numbers, and you hear about them all over the country and everybody thinks it's fake or someone's doing something illegal on it. And it's not the case. I just think people are tapping into and learning something more about themselves and always pulling back the onion and figuring out what can I do different? What can I do better? How can I reinvest in my system?
It's something you said though, that's really stuck with me and is a really curious thing is we've got access to all this data, but if you don't go through the data and ask, how did you get this relationship? You're never going to know that. So as a leader, first of all, that's rad. If I were working with you, and I do, but maybe I need you to do an audit on me and I'm going to maybe schedule some time next week. But thank you for being that way. I bet everybody is going to be in a better position for it. And we're really lucky to have you here. Wrapping up real quick. Who is Jeff Rose outside of work and what do you do when you're not doing the mortgage stuff?
So I love health, wellness, fitness. I love to surf. I have a real passion for it.
You love to surf?
Yes, look at you.
Wait.
You're more committed than I am, sitting in a boring office. I have nothing to show. I don't even have a wetsuit tan on my neck to show for it, but I do. I love surfing. I've grown up doing it most of my life, but I really loved all sports. I kind of grew up in a household that, I don't know if anybody relates to this, but we either had to have a tutor or do a sport. So I ended up doing a lot of sports. You just kind of grow up in that household. Yeah. So that's the kid choice, right? The parents were going to be like, why didn't you get the tutor? But I did a lot of sports. I grew up doing a lot of sports. I love most sports. I don't love watching most of them, but I love, taking part in most of them. And I do love fitness. I love the gym. I'm not healthy and sane. My wife knows it's part of my soul that I gotta get out and do something every day. I got to check the box. Did I run, go to the gym, or surf today? As long as I did one of those things, my soul is going to be in a good place.
I love it. Well, hey, it's awesome to be on the same team with you. I've learned a ton since you started and look forward to having a great year and career, together working with you. So thanks for all you do, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. This is cool. I love connecting and, doing it on film is a new one for me, but I'll get more used to it.
Well, you did great. And for anybody watching this that doesn't know Jeff, hopefully that changes in the next, 6 or 12 months, and we're building the team and he's a great leader to work with. So we'll end on that.
Right on. See you later.